Hi, this video sort of exists as a response to Reginald, but really it's just for me to present my evidence that this class is particularly bad. So it's important to make a distinction on cooldown versus no cooldown. This class needs its stim and ultimate both active to be competitive with the other classes. However, there's a problem with that. Even if you are the best player, you're really not getting any more than 50, maybe 60% uptime on those. Which means for about 50 to 60% of the game, it's just barely a competitive class with the rest of the characters. And for 50% of the game or more, depending on skill level, it is actively the worst class in the game. It does the least amount of damage, it has the least survivability, and provides the least to the team. So nothing better will show this off than the melee clip. So this is with all your cooldowns. This is with your keystone active, this is with your stim active, and this is with your ability active. You literally cannot get stronger than this as Ganger. And we can see that it takes about like 11 seconds to kill. Now, you might ask yourself, what is this competing against? Well, let's take Veteran, which, reminder, Veteran is just like this all the time. Yeah, Veteran can kill a boss just on its own in like 7 seconds all the time without any funny business, no cooldowns required, other than Mark Target, which literally only takes like 10 seconds to regenerate. And in case you're wondering for comparison, if the Ganger does not use cooldowns, they don't use ultimate, they don't use stim, this is as good as it's going to get. Stack up Decimator and Relentless Strikes. And yeah, this is rough. This is really rough. Compared to the previous two clips, it's literally less than half the damage. And when you consider that you spend about half the game like this, it's quite a problem. So let me show you what Gun Ganger is like, because Gun Ganger is weirdly better and worse. When you have all your cooldowns active, Gun Ganger is better than Melee Ganger. That much is irrefutable. However, when you don't have your cooldowns, Gun Ganger is actually worse a lot of the times than Melee. So that's what it looks like for regular Gun Ganger. You can see it took us about 10 seconds to do that. Now, Gun Ganger with no CD takes about 20 seconds. Remember, we're just looking at the raw damage output of the class. We don't really care about anything else right now. And yeah, I mean, you can see for 50% of the mission, you're going to be completely useless, effectively. Because what happens in Havoc when two bosses spawn? Well, you'll be okay, you know, you'll be about on average with one of them, but completely useless versus the next one. So here's the rest of the characters. Here's Arbiter with a bolter. And you can see right here the damage starts 2 seconds in. So Bolter Arbiter is clearly just better than the Ganger. And he has 10-second cooldown on his ability. So, you know, I don't really feel too bad using that. And this is without the bolter. The damage starts right here at about 3 seconds. So this is what a more normal Arbiter setup with the shotgun would be like. And you can see this also took like 12, 13 seconds after we account for the 3-second delay from the clip starting to attacking the boss. Point is, so Arbiter is competitive with the boss damage of Ganger when it has all of its CDs active. Okay, what about Ogren? Ogren is like the tankiest class in the game. You're gonna have to forgive me, this clip is not from me because I don't really play this character. But yeah. So Ogren, as you can see, that took about 11, 12 seconds. I wrote down as 13 because give me 1 second, like human error on all of this stuff, by the way. So Ogren, who has quite literally 5 times the HP and like 3 times the toughness regen and toughness damage reduction and the ability to crowd control multiple hordes with taunt, is doing competitive damage to this class when it can only maintain this for 50% of the time, and it's flat out doing more the other 50% where it can't maintain this. This is Psyker. I don't know why music is playing. Shouldn't be recorded, but still, point is, you get the idea. Just don't want to get copyright struck. You get the idea. This only took about 11 seconds, as you can see. So this is completely on par with Ganger. You've already saw that Veteran is the fastest. And this is Zealot. Now, I don't really have too much to say about this. It's, you know, and well, I do actually have one thing to say. If this was in Eviscerator Zealot, this would be faster. Now, by the way, all of these builds, these are just generic meta builds. I did not pull out any special things. For Ogren, I could show you Gun Ogren with like the Ripper gun. He kills bosses in 7 seconds as well. Or Shroudfield Zealot who one-shots them. But those are more or less gimmick builds, and I don't really feel comfortable including them. These are just regular ass. If you ran Havoc 40 right now, you'd see people running these builds. This is what this class has to compete against. Okay, Reginald brought up a point that I never really talked about originally, but it is a good point, and I'm glad he brought it up. What about mixed Havoc 40 hordes? So we're going to take gun with cooldowns, the stim, etc., everything, as 20 seconds. That's the number Reginald got, and I'll just trust his number on this. So this is Ganger versus a mixed horde with the chem grenade and cooldowns. Or, I'm sorry, no cooldowns. So, because this is a very important situation. What do you do when you don't have your cooldowns available to use, but you do have a grenade fighting a mixed horde? Well, it's okay. The grenade does a lot of heavy lifting here. And all in all, you can see that clip took about 22 seconds. Okay, so what if you don't have a grenade? Because you don't have grenade generation. So what happens if your stim is on cooldown, your ultimate's on cooldown, and the horde's either not big enough to spend a grenade on, or you just don't have a grenade to spend? Oh, another thing to note, by the way, I'm using the special ability of the shivs to kill the Crusher without even engaging with it. If there was a second Crusher here, because of this class's horrible armor penetration, you'd have to completely just melee down the Crusher on a gun build that has no melee support innate to it. Yeah, it takes about, like, 7+ seconds to kill the Crusher. It would add some 30-40% extra time to this clip just to kill this if there was just a single extra Crusher. And this is a very small horde. This is just a demonstration Reginald used. So, that's cool, I guess. And when he was spending his cooldowns, he got 20 seconds. Now, let's compare that to some of this other stuff that I would want to show you, just what the other classes are doing into mixed hordes. So this is Zealot, and at the end of this clip, I do something very important intentionally. I let myself get hit a bunch, and you're going to see what I'm talking about here in a second to show you the tankiness. Look at this. I just let these guys hit me. That was 4 hits total from a Havoc 40 Rager, and I only lost like 12 health. If you take just 2 hits from anything as the Ganger, you lose half your health. The Ganger can die in 3 hits on Havoc 40. Zealot literally face tanks 4 of them while also clearing the horde at a similar time. That's ridiculous. Zealot has to spend 1 grenade. Okay, sure, we don't have the grenade. What really changes? We just, we add fucking... You want to add 10 seconds? Okay, sure. Let's add 10 seconds just to be generous. And then it still competes with what the Ganger's like half the time when he doesn't have his stim and stuff. Okay, so here's Ogren into a mixed horde. Again, this clip is not for me because I don't play Ogren. And, I don't know, this definitely... I mean, why is the tankiest, slowest character in the game out-damaging and out-clearing the fast-paced, If he didn't accidentally turn this on right here, if he just, gone for the kill, this would have been even faster. So, you kind of see what I'm getting at, right? And now here's Psyker. And, by the way, this is not even fucking close to Psyker's best build. Psyker has so many stronger builds than this that would outperform this one that it's actually rather absurd. So as you can see, Psyker can kill faster, and his cooldowns are so fast and cooling down while he's in his ability, he never doesn't have access to them. And last, the one I'm sure you guys... Well, Arby. I forgot to do Arbiter. Let me show you Arbiter. Arbiter is a big, nasty cheater because he doesn't have to think because he's so tanky, and he has the ability to literally turn off an entire crowd. But this is kind of the point. Why does this character have competitive mixed clear and competitive boss damage while also effectively never being able to die and having the team support of just snapping his fingers and turning off the game for 15 seconds? He's just objectively stronger. There's no way to argue that. Okay, the one I'm sure people care about the most, Veteran. because we all saw that horrible Reginald clip where it took him like 30 seconds and he died a bunch. Oh, something I forgot to mention that's important. So, like, right there, if I was Ganger and I took that hit, all my toughness would be gone, and I would not have many ways to regenerate it, depending on the build, of course. So, like, if I take that hit from the Crusher and then take that follow-up hit from that guy right there, there's a very high chance I just lose half my health. But on Veteran, it's like cruise control. You don't even have to think or worry about it. You can just sit there and soak that shit and not even break toughness. So as you can see, Veteran also took about 20 seconds. So in every situation, if we just want to look at the flat DPS on a turned off boss dummy, this character cannot compete unless he spends all cooldowns. If we want to look at AI on Havoc mixed hordes, he also pretty much cannot compete. At the end of the day, this class is incredibly squishy, incredibly easy to die with, and provides very little to the team in terms of utility, for the reward of, for half the game, you can be on par with the rest of the classes. They could quite literally double this character's damage when not under stim and alt, and then it would be just in line with the rest of the classes. The problem with that, and this is the main problem with Ganger as a whole, you can't really do that because power creep has reached such a ridiculous level that imagine if they raise this damage to be on par with this damage. Once you spend your CDs, you would literally kill bosses in like 3 goddamn seconds. It would be absurd. I really think we just need a big balance patch that massively nerfs the enemies and massively nerfs us as well. Because I feel like there's no real design overhead to make a class like Ganger work. Because if Ganger did, say, 20% more damage than the rest of the cast while his stim and alt was active, he would be killing bosses in like 7-ish seconds. Like, let's say, if we use Veteran, if you want him to do 20% more damage than Veteran, well, that means he's now killing bosses in 5 seconds, and he's killing mixed hordes just for free in like 15 seconds. You know, and then you still have to answer the question of what do you do for half the run where you don't have your CD? You're irrefutably the weakest class in the game. But, yeah, it's not arguable. This class is the squishiest, provides the least utility, and for a large portion of the run does the least damage as well. Quite a underwhelming class, all things considered.